The story opens with Seong Gi-hun, the man who won an enormous prize of 45.6 billion won, equal to around $31 million in the previous season of Squid Game. He's ready to leave South Korea and reunite with his daughter in the United States. However, just before boarding his flight, he spots a familiar face: the Squid Game recruiter. Gi-hun is terrified, especially when the recruiter makes eye contact with him. Gi-hun decides to cancel his flight, but shortly afterward he gets a chilling call from the recruiter, warning him that he'll regret staying behind. However, Gi-hun makes up his mind that he will find all the answers and end the sinister game. He's shocked by how the game's organizers seem to know his every move. He takes a taxi back to his city, purchases a knife from a store, and heads to a bathroom, where he inspects his body for tracking devices. After some searching, he feels something odd in his ear, and without hesitation cuts it open. To his shock, he finds a microchip and quickly disposes of it by flushing it. Meanwhile, we are introduced to Detective Jun-ho, who wakes up in a hospital bed. He had infiltrated the Squid Game island in search of his missing brother, only to face a devastating revelation. His brother was the frontman of the deadly game. In a heartbreaking moment, his brother shot him. Now conscious, Jun-ho's mother is overjoyed to see him awake, though he remains haunted by his trauma. Fast forward 2 years and Jun-ho has returned to his life as a traffic officer. During a casual meal break, his boss urges him to rejoin the crime division. Jun-ho tries to share his knowledge of the horrifying game on the island, but his claims are dismissed without solid proof. When pressed about the person who shot him, Jun-ho avoids the truth, unwilling to admit it was his brother. Late at night, Gi-hun wakes up from a nightmare in his small motel room. He hears a buzzing noise and peeks outside, only to spot his former creditor, Mr. Kim. But this time, things are different. Gi-hun has hired Mr. Kim to help him track down the elusive recruiter for the deadly Squid Game. Mr. Kim shares an update. For the past 2 years, his team has been keeping an eye on subway stations, but there hasn't been a single sign of the mysterious recruiter or anyone acting suspiciously. Gi-hun feels disappointed, but remains firm in his belief that the recruiter will surface eventually. He hands Mr. Kim a hefty cash, instructing him to expand the operation and hire more men to scour the city for leads. The next morning, Mr. Kim teams up with his trusted associate, Woo Seok, to assemble a group of men for the task. Woo Seok briefs them on what to watch for: a man in a suit playing a game called Dakji with strangers, followed by handing out an invitation card. To motivate them, Mr. Kim offers a massive reward of 500 million won, which is around 340,000 US dollars, to anyone who can locate the recruiter. Energized by the promise of such a prize, the group fans out across the city, searching train stations and airports for any sign of the man. Days turn into frustration as the search yields no results. The team is exhausted and disheartened. One evening, Mr. Kim and Woo Seok sit at a train station debating whether the recruiter even exists. Woo Seok expresses his doubts, suggesting they might be chasing a ghost. But Mr. Kim, convinced of Gi-hun's determination, insists that no one would spend billions on a wild goose chase. Just as their hopes seem to fade, a sudden noise grabs their attention. They look up to see a man in a suit playing dakji with someone who appears to be down on their luck. They're stunned as the man hands over the familiar invitation card. It's the recruiter they've been hunting all along. Without wasting a second, Mr. Kim calls Gi-hun to deliver the long-awaited news. Gi-hun orders them to follow the recruiter and ensure they don't lose sight of him until he arrives. The salesman makes his next stop at a bakery, purchasing a large quantity of bread rolls along with 100 lottery tickets. Unaware that he's being followed, he carries on with his peculiar routine. He then heads to a park and approaches a homeless man lying on the ground. With an unsettling tone, the salesman tells the man his life seems hopeless and without prospects. He offers him a choice: a bread roll or a lottery ticket. After a moment of hesitation, the man picks up the ticket, scratching it with anticipation, only to lose. Disappointed, he watches the salesman walk away, still holding all the food. The salesman repeats this cruel game with several other homeless individuals in the park. Most of them choose the lottery ticket, hoping for a chance to change their lives, but none win. Eventually, the salesman stands in the center of the park, holding the leftover bread rolls. Instead of offering them to the hungry people, he throws the food on the ground. When one man questions his actions, the salesman coldly remarks that he gave them a choice, and they made the wrong one. To everyone's shock, he then stomps on the bread rolls, destroying them as the crowd watches in stunned silence. Meanwhile, Gi-hun is speeding toward the park, determined to catch up with the salesman. His rush is interrupted when traffic police pull him over. One of the officers, Jun-ho, stays back while his partner handles the situation. Gi-hun hurriedly accepts his speeding fine without protest and speeds off, desperate to reach the park. As the officer's partner casually mentions the driver's ID to Jun-ho, something about the name shocks him. At the same time, the salesman gets into a taxi, and Mr. Kim and Woo-seok continue following him. Keeping Gi-hun updated on his movements, Mr. Kim and Woo-seok finally manage to trap the salesman in a quiet alley, ready to confront him. But their plan quickly unravels as the salesman effortlessly takes them down, knocking both of them out with ease. Meanwhile, Jun-ho continues his investigation, entering Gi-hun's name into the police database. As soon as he sees Gi-hun's photo, recognition strikes him. He's met Gi-hun before. Jun-ho writes down the address of the vehicle and sets off to find him, determined to uncover more. Back in the alley, Gi-hun arrives but finds no trace of his men. His calls to Mr. Kim go unanswered, but his worry deepens. As he searches the area, he stumbles upon a blood-stained spot and a sharp knife, which sends a chill down his spine. Something terrible has happened, and he's helpless to figure out what. In a different location, Mr. Kim and Woo-seok wake up to find themselves tied up and locked in a dark room. The salesman standing before them announces they'll play a twisted version of rock, paper, scissors called Rock, Paper, Scissors -1. The rules are simple but deadly. Each person must pick 2 options with their hands and take one away at the last second. But that's not all. Next comes the infamous game of Russian roulette. The salesman loads a single bullet into a revolver and spins it, explaining that the loser of the game will face the gun's trigger. With only 1 bullet in a 6-shot chamber, their chances of survival are slim. 1 in 6. The tension mounts as the game begins. They play several rounds, but miraculously neither of them is shot. The salesman loads 4 more bullets into the gun, making the odds of death a terrifying 5 out of 6. The game goes on, and in the final round, Woo-seok accidentally selects only rock, while Mr. Kim opts for scissors and paper. Now, Mr. Kim just needs to pick paper to win, but instead of choosing wisely, he keeps his hands intact, disqualifying him from the game. In the next scene, Gi-hun returns to his motel, only to find the salesman waiting for him. The salesman repeats that he should have gotten on that plane, but Gi-hun, more determined than ever, tells him he wants to meet the game's organizers. He says he's grateful to them for the money they gave him, as it changed his life. The salesman claims he's just a messenger, but Gi-hun isn't impressed. He taunts him, calling him a dog who only follows orders. The salesman becomes furious and challenges Gi-hun to a game of Russian roulette. He raises the stakes by not spinning the revolver's cylinder, meaning that one of them is guaranteed to die by the 6th round. Gi-hun, with a point to prove, agrees without a second thought. The game begins, and after 4 rounds, neither is shot, making the tension unbearable in the 5th round. It's Gi-hun's turn. The odds are now 50-50. The salesman tells him he has something in his pocket that will lead to the game's organizers, but warns Gi-hun that if he chooses that path, he will always be seen as a lowlife. Gi-hun, undeterred, pulls the trigger. Miraculously, he's spared. Now it's the final round. The salesman is facing certain death. Gi-hun points out that they are in the same situation and taunts the salesman, calling him a dog who's helpless without his master. Enraged by Gi-hun's taunts, the salesman shoots himself in the head, ending the game and the episode. So what do you think? What's next for Gi-hun? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Stay tuned for our next recap.